Women living with MS were initially told not to get pregnant, that it could worsen their symptoms. Today, we're told a very different story, that pregnancy could provide temporary relief to those very symptoms. So today, we're going to dive into all of your questions around pregnancy and MS. And of course, this video was prompted based on my recent announcement that I am expecting my first child. I am a fellow MS warrior. I was diagnosed with relapsing remitting MS in 2016. And at the time of this recording, I am 41 years old and 22 weeks pregnant. So I'm a little past the halfway mark. But throughout this journey, I had many of the same questions that you are turning to me and asking about as well. So I wanted to know, does MS affect my ability to get pregnant and sustain a healthy pregnancy? What about the symptoms during pregnancy? Does it provide that temporary relief? And what about that postpartum flare? Is that something that I will be at risk for? And are there any ways to help manage that? So as I said, today we are going to dive into all of those questions and peel back the layers of what the truth is behind all of it. Now, of course, as I said, I'm sharing this not by standing here to be an expert in fertility or fertility and MS. That is not what I am here for. I'm here sharing my specific story because I know the power of story. So I want to share my experience with you in hopes that it will help you on your journey as well. Because my guess is if you're watching this video, you are a fellow MS warrior like me who wanted to fulfill her dream of becoming a mom. And I didn't want MS to stop that. So I love to share this information with you. And even more so, I would love to hear about your experience in the comments below. So stay tuned for our journey here and be sure to share your experience in the comments below. I found it especially helpful and incredibly important to start having the conversation with my neurologist about pregnancy and MS before my husband and I were even trying to conceive. This is mainly because many fellow MS warriors are taking a disease-modifying drug. Now, some of them are completely safe to stay on during pregnancy, while others are questionable and may be recommended to come off of during pregnancy. I happen to be on one of the DMTs that was viewed to be safe during pregnancy. However, I had stabilization for 5 years. I had no new lesions, no new activity, and if anything, there was more healing than there was any disease activity. So I had started planting the seed with my neurologist about coming off of my medication as I was approaching pregnancy. And I found that to be incredibly helpful, having that conversation before it was something that we had to make a decision on in that very moment. It also helped to motivate me to be as proactive as I could with diet and lifestyle. Now, of course, I was proactive with diet and lifestyle at the time of my diagnosis and every day since. I've been very committed to it, and I attribute a lot of my success in managing MS to diet and lifestyle. But when I was enhancing this because I wanted to take that next step of becoming a mom and being able to get pregnant, I knew that diet and lifestyle could only help not only in managing MS, but improving my chances of fertility and conceiving a healthy baby. So again, having that conversation early on with your neurologist about your unique journey. And you do want to have that conversation with your neurologist specifically because they are the only ones trained to answer questions about DMTs and about your unique case. It's not always a blanket statement across the board, whether it's appropriate to come off or stay on one. It's really based on your individual disease activity and what is most appropriate for you. So start having that conversation with your neurologist early on. And if you're already in the process of trying to conceive, or maybe you're already pregnant, no worries, have that conversation today, but loop in your neurologist so that they can provide you with support along the way. MS is not believed to have a negative impact on your ability to conceive, nor is it believed to have a negative impact on your ability to sustain a healthy pregnancy. So I know I certainly was happy to hear this, and can say now that, again, at 41 years old, I'm 22 weeks pregnant. Now, I did also have a history of endometriosis. And just age played a factor. Fertility isn't the easiest once you hit 40 and over. So I did do some fertility treatments, but as I was working with a fertility doctor, I certainly looped him in on the fact that I was living with MS. But both my neurologist nor my fertility doctor had any concerns about MS influencing my ability to get pregnant. It more was the age factor and the history of endometriosis. But again, I'm happy to say that now at 41, I am pregnant and more than halfway through that pregnancy. Of course, every person is going to have a unique experience. So there's no one statement that can be said across the board. But certainly it is comforting to know that as a whole, MS is not holding us back from our ability to conceive and sustain a healthy pregnancy. Once you're pregnant, it's time to celebrate. And I'm happy to say there's even more good news coming your way. Because in my experience and many other fellow MS warriors, the rumor is true. You do in fact feel better during pregnancy than not. The way I've looked at it is that MS is an autoimmune disease. So our immune system is attacking our own body. But during pregnancy, the immune system is suppressed to help protect that growing baby, so that dysregulation that you have from MS starts to quiet down a bit. So it's time to start enjoying these next 9 months. And my neurologist also confirmed that when I called to let her know that I did in fact have a positive pregnancy test. So I was officially pregnant. And her words to me, congratulations, enjoy these next 9 months, because as a MS warrior, you often do feel better during pregnancy. So I loved hearing that. And I did feel that pretty early on. I felt a relief from the fatigue. I certainly experienced being tired from pregnancy, but as an MS warrior, you know, being tired and being fatigued are two very different things. Tired, you're sleeping a little bit more. Fatigued, I describe that as a full body experience. It's almost more associated with like weakness, like physical weakness, coupled with the tiredness. But I definitely got a relief from that. I got a relief from brain fog. Urinary frequency, I think that just kind of traded off with the pregnancy urinary frequency. And heat sensitivity. I was so surprised to see that I was not as sensitive to heat during pregnancy, which really blew my mind, because I know that many pregnant women do find that they're sensitive to heat. But again, it's a very different response than the MS heat sensitivity. So I can say that the very few symptoms that I have that are well managed definitely quieted down during pregnancy, but even more so, I just felt better overall. I had better energy, better clarity. So I loved that aspect of it and I'm thoroughly enjoying pregnancy. And again, I did feel that pretty early on, definitely during my first trimester. And that in fact isn't even as common as it is to feel those benefits more in the second and third trimester. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that there's even more benefits to come. But again, the rumor is true that you do feel better during pregnancy, more so than not. In terms of labor and delivery, that big day that's coming up, I have been reassured that MS does not impact my labor and delivery in any way. Most specifically, it doesn't impact my ability to have an epidural. If I want an epidural, I can choose one with confidence. If I opt out of an epidural, I can do that just as confidently, knowing that either decision, whichever one I choose, and it's a personal one to see what feels best for you, MS does not need to be a deciding factor in that decision. Your baby has arrived. Congratulations. But now what? Are you at risk for a postpartum flare that we hear so much about? The answer is, it depends. It's long been believed that women living with MS will experience or are at higher risk of experiencing a flare shortly after delivering their baby. But more recently, we're told that it's not necessarily a guarantee that will happen after you deliver. That risk is more closely associated with your risk of a flare prior to getting pregnant. So if pre-pregnancy you were at higher risk for a flare, well then you may be at higher risk once your immune system kicks back in after you deliver. However, if you were not at high risk for a flare or a relapse prior to getting pregnant, then you may not be one who's likely to experience a postpartum flare. Again, that relationship of having a postpartum flare is most closely related to your risk of a flare prior to getting pregnant. I also learned that exclusive breastfeeding can further reduce your risk of a postpartum flare. So to me, as an MS warrior, I hear two things out of that. One, leading up to pregnancy, I want to do everything that I can to stabilize disease activity. So to make sure that I am at the lowest risk of having a relapse. And number two, I want to know that exclusive breastfeeding gives me an extra boost of protection. Now, I know that breastfeeding is a personal choice and you have to do what feels best for you. But if you do feel that you're at higher risk for a flare or just want to simply have the lowest chance of a postpartum flare, that may be further encouragement to try that out for you and your baby. Now, as I mentioned, the information that I shared here today was simply based on my experience as a fellow MS warrior who wanted to be a mom and didn't want MS to stand in my way. And again, if you're watching this video, my guess is that's where you are too. So I hope this information has been helpful for you today. But I also know in the power of story and the power of us going through this together. So I would love to hear your experience with pregnancy, with postpartum. Share in the comments below what your experience has been so that we can all learn from one another and so that together we rise.